like culture, it shifts. And what we're experiencing now is a musical taste kind of shift. I remember in 2015 to the 2017 period that Travis Scott came out with Rodeo. We had Birds in the Trap. We had this kind of psychedelic trap sound that started to become the pioneering genre when it came to hip hop. And I know a lot of people tried to encapsulate that and tried to, I guess, recreate that feeling in their own kind of music. I can think of a couple examples. One odd example I can think of is Dead Star 2 by Smoke Perp. I know it's a weird example, but he got Mike Dean on production. You can hear the psychedelic sounds that he was trying to go for on that project, but it fell flat. It's a disgustingly bad album. But as I'm bringing this up, the psychedelic trap sound, while there is definitely still a taste and there's still a craving for this particular sound, it's kind of faded away over time. And music shifts always happen. You had kind of the acoustic piano ballads, which are still a thing that Adele kind of pioneered in the early 2010s. You had the EDM sound that also came from the early 2010s into the mid 2010s. There was a lot of different musical shifts that happened throughout a decade. And I think what's happening now, especially going into this decade, kind of going into the next maybe year or two, I don't know how prevalent this sound is going to be, but when you have the artists like Playboi Carti and Yeat, Ken Carson, all these kind of people, I think this sound is going to be prevalent for a little while. Trippie Redd also, for example. And that's hyper trap and rage music. And what I find is different this time is that critics are not all that open to this sound becoming as prevalent as it is. Now, I may be focusing on one reviewer. I heavily respect Anthony Fantano, but I think the criticism is very interesting to look at because when you have Destroy Lonely, this only came a half hour ago. This is really the only reason why I made this video, and you're probably wondering, it's been 4 months, why haven't I uploaded? I don't know, I just felt intrigued too. I want to be more consistent anyway, so why not start with a video that maybe no one cares about? But it really intrigues me that this sound is causing such a vitriolic response from a lot of people. And I remember particularly when the Ken Carson review happened. That album is a 0 out of 10, by the way. Now, keep in mind, here are my outlooks on these two albums. This gives me a good opportunity to talk about these two albums. I really enjoy the Ken Carson album in pieces. I think the first half of it, when it comes to track 1 to track 8, I think that is some of my favorite music of this year. It's so much fun to listen to. The beats are so energetic. Ken Carson matches this energy in this weird way. It's a unique sound, but for some reason it captures it well, and it gets me so excited. I have gems, I have Nobody, I have New, I have Please Don't Blow My High, I have the two freestyles, I have Fuck 12. There's so many songs that I can take, but I think the album as a whole, I think kind of suffers because it's 20 tracks. Even though it's a shorter album, I think still the amount of tracks do matter. It starts to drag off towards the latter portion of the album. It's still around in my top 15 conversation because I think the album is incredibly enjoyable. Destroy Lonely, on the other hand, which I got a 1 out of 10, I believe, that album doesn't have the incredible highs that I think Ken Carson has when it comes to like Please Don't Blow My High, New, Gems. But the album as a whole, while it is longer, is crafted much better. Because in the middle portion, we are able to experience more guitar-laced instrumentals mixed with more of this rage kind of sound. And I think the sound of electric guitars and this very hyper trap sound comes together in this weird combination that is just an adrenaline rush, and it feels fantastic to listen to. It's a chemistry that I didn't expect to work. I never thought it would work. Imagine this sound like 5 to 6 years ago. We would not think this would be possible, but it for some reason it works. And I think Destroy Lonely, the No Stylist album as a whole, I think the album is crafted much better. It does keep my interest, even though it is actually 20 minutes longer. But the reason why I bring this up is that, again, there is this vitriol to this sound that I have never experienced with any other sound. Usually there is quite a bit of people that take on this sound full force. And they say it's just like, this is a pioneering of a new sound. This is the start of the next generation. And while there is some negative response to it, usually you do have those people that take it as it is, they bolster it up and say it's like, this is a sound that's going to be revolutionary in the next couple of years. This time it's different though. And I think what people are getting really caught up on is influences and inspiration. Now, Playboi Carti, of course, is the major factor as to why this sound is so big. And I can understand that people may look at Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely, not to mention they're on the same label, and say is that this is just rip off Playboi Carti. Why would I want to listen to it? And while that's an understandable thing to make, I think that's discounting the sound that we're just trying to usher in. I don't know if I'm making a point or whatever. I don't know if this is anything poignant. I just find it interesting that we're immediately jumping to the point we're saying it's just like, this sounds too much like this. It's garbage. It shouldn't be released. You should really work on your sound, work on your craft. I really, in my opinion, I feel like there is, while it's not crazy innovative, I think it's still a very enjoyable sound. I just don't understand where all this crazy criticism is coming from. This may just be a rant piece, honestly. I may just be a person that's just yelling at a cloud for no reason. But I feel like we're being so incredibly critical on this sound now. And I don't know if it's the impact of social media. It may be the impact of social media. That's a big point, honestly. But I think this can honestly go into a whole thing about music taste and music opinion, and everyone's taking it too seriously. But I think when an artist is highlighted in a negative light, everyone just hive minds and everyone just starts crashing down on it. If you really think about it, it's just like, I can think of Young Thug, I can think of Lil Baby, I can think of Gunna. And while they did have those things where they says like, you sound like a rip-off Young Thug, everybody embraced that pretty quickly. So I don't understand why we're in this period of time and these artists are not being embraced. They're actually being immediately taken on as rip-offs. They're taken immediately as just basically carbon copies. All I'm saying is to give it some time, and also I think the criticism is a little bit overblown. I think there needs to be time to innovate. Ken Carson has been around for a little bit. Destroy Lonely has been around for a little bit as well. But I think that now they have the capabilities, they have the resources to really bolster the sound. I think there needs to be a little bit more of understanding, because for some reason back then we had a lot more, but now for some reason I feel like we don't have the understanding to realize that this is a new sound and we're kind of in the still infantile stages of this, because this only started like 2020 getting into 2021. So this may be a useless video. This may have absolutely no point to it. Hopefully I did make a point, but I'll give it like this. I think the criticism is a little bit overblown. While I do understand that influences can be worn too much on the sleeve, I think these artists, Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson, do separate themselves enough to where that criticism is a little bit in question, if you get what I mean. Give the artist a chance. It's a really early stage of the genre. I think this subgenre of trap can cause some incredible music. And I feel like there is a classic album that we're working up to at this point. And whether we're open to that, whether we're going to be heavily negative towards that, that is going to be up in question within the next year or two. But I am now Snowchild now. So thank you for watching. Whether this was a constructive video, whether it was just a rant video, I really don't know. But I think this conversation is interesting. And I think it's something that I like to come back to in a year or so and see what kind of the reception is when we get maybe a major release on maybe another Playboi Carti album. Maybe we get more of a trajectory for the Opium label, all this kind of stuff. So keep checking in. I'm going to try to upload as much as possible, but thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe if you want. It's been a while, but I'm going to try to upload more consistently. Thank you so much, and I'm going to talk to you again soon. Peace out, guys.